Hey guys, welcome in this video. I hope that all of you are doing great. So in this video, I'm going to explain you guys why the excuse of I don't have enough capital to start trading is actually the worst excuse that I've ever heard in my life. And the reason why you actually don't need to have that much money to get into trading and to eventually be able to trade bigger capital. So I think that this video will be very valuable because I actually hear this almost every day from people telling me that they cannot start trading because they think that they need to have a lot of money to start. And so I'm going to give you guys all the information that you need where you will be able to understand how you can actually go about it, right? So just before that we start, as always guys, feel free to drop a like on the video. I would really appreciate it, and make sure as well that you are subscribed to the channel if it's not already done. So let's dive right into the topic. All right, now the first reason why you don't need to have a lot of money to start with is simply because at the beginning, right, you will need to go through the first two phases. So the first phase is the learning phase and the second phase is the practice phase. And so within these two steps, right, you don't need to have a lot of money, right? Actually, in the first phase, right, of this whole process, right, which is just learning about the markets, learning how to trade, how to read the charts, how to read the news and stuff like that, well, you're not even going to be trading within this first step. And that is something that should last at least a couple of months. And so at the beginning, you really don't need to have any money to actually begin your learning process. Now, of course, if you want to join, let's say, our coaching program or just learn with somebody else, right, well, you will probably need to invest some money in yourself in order to do this, right? But still, like, you don't need to have like 10 or 20,000 or anything like that, right? So most of the time, right, it's not that expensive to actually get started, right? So you will begin your learning experience. And so while you are in this learning experience, what you will be able to do is to simply take the time to save money for your initial capital later, which you could use as your practice account, or you could also go with a demo account in this situation. So at this point, it's really up to you. It's up to, you know, whatever it is that you prefer to go when it comes to just practicing. So either that you go, as I said, with a small real account or a demo account. And so the goal of this second step right here is literally just to get more experience on the market, and it's to start to see some results and some consistency, right? Because what you have to understand is that if you're not able to manage a small trading account, well, you're not going to be able to manage a bigger one, of course, right? It's very logical. And so what you want to focus on at the beginning, right, is simply developing the skill and acquiring the experience that you need in order to do this successfully later on, right? And so the idea with all of this, right, is that within these two first phases, as you guys can see, right, you don't really need to have a lot of capital, right? You could begin your learning experience and then do it on a demo account. So literally the only thing that you would need is some money to invest, as I said, in a good coaching program, right? And then after that, you will already have the skill and you will already understand what you have to do in order to generate some good trade ideas and be able to trade quality ideas right on the markets. Now, when you will be done with these two first steps, right, the logical next step would be to actually start trading with your real account, right? And so this is where a lot of people get it wrong, in the sense that, you know, if you don't have a lot of capital, right, even if you start trading on a bigger account, right, it's going to take a long time before that you really get to actual big numbers, right? So let's say that you start to trade with, I don't know, like $2,000 or $5,000, right? Well, even if you are good, even if you put money into your account, it's still realistically going to take at least a couple of years before that you get to 50,000 and 100,000 and you know, all of these numbers, right, that seem a bit big, but that are at the end of the day not that crazy, right? And so what is really important to understand is that you don't really have that many options. So either that you actually follow this process and that once you get to this level here, you just take the time, you are very patient, and you put in the work every single day until that you get to bigger numbers. Or the other solution, which is what I wanted to talk about in this video, is to simply go with a funded account. Now, I'm sure that some of you guys already know what a funded account is, but just to give you guys some perspective for those of you who don't really know what it's all about, a funding account, right, is simply a trading account that you will get from a funding firm. And essentially, right, these businesses, right, they are a few of them. The most common one is really FTMO. And so these firms, right, essentially will give you a trading capital to work with if you are able to prove to them that you are profitable. So in order to prove to them that you are profitable, you will need to do what they call a challenge. And so you will go through a phase, right? Well, you will need to take some trades and show them that you are able to actually get consistent results. And if you succeed in the challenge, challenge, they will give you a bigger capital to trade with, right? And they have different size accounts. I mean, you could go with 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. But of course, by the bigger capital that you want, the more money that it costs to actually go through the challenge. But it's really not that expensive, right? Most of the time it's between like 200 to let's say 600, right? Somewhere around that. So if you just succeed the challenge at first, or let's say the second try at worst, right? I mean, it's not going to be very expensive to actually get a bigger capital, right? And so what that means is that even if you don't have that much money to trade, right? Well, literally, you could follow this exact process that I just explained. You start your learning process within a good coaching program. Once you understand the market, then you start to implement this information on your own. You start to practice to get some experience. And once you have some results within this phase, right, then you begin the other phase, right, the next one, where this is where you will be able, as I said, to actually go through these one of these challenges, right, get a funded account, and then you will be able to trade bigger capital. Right? And so you will go from no capital and no knowledge to actually understanding the markets with a big capital without having, you know, to put in like so much money and so much time into it, right? In the sense that if you really focus on that, right, as I said, the learning phase and the practice phase, you could get this done in a couple of months, right? I know that it sounds a bit you know, a bit extreme, right? A bit hard. Sometimes people think that it takes like years and years and years to learn how to trade. And of course, right, even after multiple years, you will still get better, but you could start to see some results after a couple of months. I've seen it happen multiple times within our coaching program. So it's definitely possible. And then once you are ready for it, right, then you go to the challenge. And once you succeed, right, then you have a bigger capital to trade with. And so literally, I think that for someone that does not have a good capital at first to start, right, let's say that someone just have a few thousand, right, or just even a few hundred at first, right? I think that it's literally the best way to eventually get to bigger capital quite fast, right? Because let's be honest, okay, you're not going to take your $500 account and grow it to $1 million in a couple of years, right? It's just not going to happen, right? So instead of hoping for these absolutely insane results that are very out the norms and that are very low probability, right? So instead of shooting for that, right? Well, shoot for learning about trading the right way, getting some experience, and once you have results, shoot for a funding account, right? I think it's literally, as I said, the best way to go about it, especially if someone does not have a big capital. Unfortunately, when I got into trading, which was almost 8 years ago, right? I'm going there, so it's been quite a long time. Unfortunately, I did not even have these opportunities myself, because at the time, these funding firms just did not exist. And so that's the reason why I'm so hyped about this, right? And that's the reason why I think it's just amazing. And one of our students inside of our coaching program recently was able to pass the FTMO challenge. His name is Joshua. I've been trading with him for quite some time, and he has now a $100,000 trading capital that he can work with, and that is literally life-changing, right? Because he went from almost no capital to trading with a pretty large account, and with a six-figure account, this is where you will already start to see some pretty good results and generate a high income with trading. And there we go. You know, like, it's really not that complex, guys. You know, like, there's no point in trying to overcomplicate everything, right? Literally follow this three-step process, right? So focus on learning. Once you have a pretty good idea of how everything works, start to implement that, get some experience, get some results. Once you feel ready and once you are comfortable with yourself and your system, go through the funding process. And once you get a bigger capital, then you can generate a pretty good income from trading, right? So guys, that's about it. That's the process that you can follow if you don't have a lot of money and you want to get to bigger capital as fast as possible. I think that there's literally no better option than this, right? You could do it with your own capital, as I said, but it's going to take a bit more time. So it depends on what you prefer and what you are most comfortable with. In any case, right, at the end of the day, the goal is really just for you to get consistent results and to start to generate more and more money from trading. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that this gives you some ideas on how you can work around that. If you enjoyed the video, please share it around, leave a like on it as well. And on that, take care, trade with care, manage money well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.